Hey, welcome. So if you're working with damaged vehicles, you already know that every single job is like a complex puzzle, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the 5 absolute foundational principles you need to solve that puzzle. Not just solve it, but do it safely and effectively. And look, this isn't just some boring checklist. This is about building a professional mindset, one that's going to define your entire career.
Okay, so picture this. A vehicle just gets dropped in your bay. It's a mess of twisted metal, airbags have gone off. You have no idea what you're really looking at. Now, for some people, that's just chaos. But for a pro, well, that's where the methodical process kicks in. So let's walk through that exact thought process, step by step.
All right, so here's our game plan. First up, we're going to talk about what you do before you even lay a hand on the car. Then we'll get into the car's systems, kind of like its anatomy. After that, we'll hit the manufacturer's rulebook, super important. Section 4 is all about your tools and the paper trail. And finally, we'll cover how to make that final defensible call. Simple as that.
Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1, before you touch anything. This is the non-negotiable foundation of safety. I'm serious. Before you even think about what's broken, your brain has to switch into safety first mode. It's all about making sure the scene is secure.
Look, a damaged car is not a normal car, not even close. It's basically an environment filled with hidden traps. You've got unstable structures that could just shift. You've got undeployed airbags that are literally waiting to go off. Ruptured fuel lines, yup. And with EVs, you've got high voltage components that might be exposed. You've got to be a detective, actively hunting for these hazards before you do anything else. And here's why this matters so much. A safety check isn't just some box you tick on a form. It's literally the shield that protects you and everybody else in the workshop. I'm telling you, there are absolutely no shortcuts here. No exceptions, period.
All right, on to Section 2, know the car's systems. So once the area is totally secure, you get to switch hats. You go from being the safety officer to being the detective. And here's the thing about being a good detective with cars. You've got to understand how one impact can affect everything. You really have to think of damage like a chain reaction. You know, a hit on the chassis, that's not just bent metal. It can completely mess up your steering and suspension geometry. Or a frontal collision, that's way more than a broken bumper. It can affect the mechanical stuff, the electrical systems, and the safety restraints all at the same time. The big idea here is that a hit in one spot can cause a whole cascade of problems way over on the other side of the vehicle.
And that is exactly why you can't just be, say, a body guy or an electrical guy anymore. You need that total systems knowledge. It's the only way you can trace the damage from that big, obvious dent, all the way to some tiny hidden electronic fault. Honestly, that's what separates a quick glance from a real professional inspection.
Okay, let's talk about Section 3, the manufacturer's rulebook. Now, this is a huge part of your investigation, following the official OEM specs. Why? Because in professional repair, guesswork isn't just frowned upon, it's completely forbidden.
Seriously, let this sink in for a second. Using a guess or some generic procedure instead of the actual manufacturer's specs, that's a direct fail point in this unit. The stakes are just way too high. You absolutely have to follow the playbook written by the people who actually designed the car. So the choice couldn't be clearer, right? On one hand, you follow the OEM procedure. That's the original equipment manufacturer. That's your only path to a safe, structurally sound vehicle. But on the other hand, you got guesswork, and that path leads straight to a potentially unsafe car, a failed assessment, and a ton of professional liability. It's really not a choice at all. Moving on to Section 4, tools and the paper trail. So every good detective needs their kit, right? A forensic kit to gather evidence. Well, for a technician, your kit has 2 equally important parts: the physical equipment you use and the flawless records you keep. So let's talk about the physical toolkit first. And listen, this is way more than just having the right set of wrenches. We're talking about things like, is your structural measuring equipment actually calibrated? Is that diagnostic scanner running the latest software? Because if you use faulty or incorrect tools, you're going to get flawed data. And flawed data leads to the wrong conclusions. It's as simple as that. Now for the second part of your kit, documentation. And trust me, it is just as critical. There's an old saying in this industry: if it ain't written down, it didn't happen. Your repair orders, your notes, your photos, that whole paper trail is your proof. It's your evidence. It's how you communicate clearly with customers, with assessors, everyone. And all of that leads us right here to Section 5, the final defensible call. This is basically the climax of the whole investigation. This is where you take everything you've gathered, all that evidence, and you make the big judgment call. This whole process, this whole mindset, it all builds to this one moment. First, you analyze all your findings to get the full picture. Then, you justify your call. Are we repairing this, straightening it, or replacing it? And that decision has to be based strictly on those OEM guidelines. Then, you communicate it clearly on the repair order. And finally, you finalize all your records and close out the job. It's a structured process that leads to one thing, a defensible recommendation. And let's be real about why this matters. An incomplete or incorrect recommendation, that's not just a mistake. It puts the customer at risk. It puts the next technician who works on that car at risk. It puts the entire repair facility at risk. Your final call has serious, real-world consequences, and it has to be built on a rock-solid foundation of safety, evidence, and precision. So there you have it, the 5 core principles that literally separate an amateur from a professional. It's not just a list of things to do. It's a way of thinking. It's the thought process that every professional technician goes through every single time.
So it all comes down to this one question. Your signature is on that final repair order. Can you stand in front of a customer or an assessor and defend every single decision you made? The whole point of this professional mindset is to make sure the answer to that question is always, without a shadow of a doubt, yes.